When we think about winter weather, we usually picture something you can track for days. A big storm on the horizon giving you plenty of time to get ready.
Right. You see it coming.
Exactly. But sometimes winter doesn't just arrive. It strikes. It can turn hostile in this sudden, really frightening flash. And we're talking about a kind of event that's short-lived, but it's uniquely dangerous just because of the terrifying speed at which it can happen. Okay, so let's unpack this. We've got a set of sources here detailing a pretty major, intense snow squall warning event that just gripped large parts of New York State.
Yeah, this is a big one.
And this wasn't a forecast for a blizzard that's going to, slowly pile up snow over 2 days. This was an emergency advisory. It demanded immediate and, in some cases, life-saving action. So our mission for this deep dive is to get into the specifics of these warnings. They were issued for central and upstate New York. And the goal is really to figure out what is a snow squall exactly.
And what makes it so different.
Right. Why does this specific warning demand such instant caution compared to, say, a major snowstorm advisory? You really have to understand the mechanics of this thing to stay safe.
And that element of immediacy, that's the absolute key. But to get it, we have to look at the context.
Okay.
The advisories we're looking at, they targeted this massive stretch of the state late on a Wednesday night. So this was not some, localized little event.
It was widespread.
It was. The alert spanned places like Syracuse, Onondaga, Rome, Ithaca, Cortland. Oneida, Elmira, and all the areas around them, all suddenly facing the same very volatile threat.
But geographical scope is, well, it's staggering. It definitely got everyone's attention across the whole upstate region.
No doubt.
And the initial reports, they really highlight how fast this thing was moving. The National Weather Service, the NWS, they described it as a broad, dangerous line of snow squall activity just sweeping across the state.
Yeah.
Specifically from near Camden right through Marcellus. It sounded less like a weather system and more like a kinetic front just moving across the land.
It is absolutely kinetic, and the specific things that triggered this severe advisory, it wasn't just the snow. It was the wind.
Ah, the wind.
The NWS was calling for wind gusts to crank up to, 35 miles per hour along that line?
Wow.
And when you combine intense snow with 35-mile-per-hour winds, you basically have an atmospheric event that is optimized for pure chaos.
So let's get into the definition then. We hear snow squall, we think heavy snow, but if the total accumulation isn't actually that high, what's the real definition? What makes it different from just a normal, snow shower?
What's fascinating here is that the NWS advisory itself gives you the perfect, really succinct definition. A snow squall it's these intense bursts of heavy snow accompanied by strong winds.
Intense bursts.
Right. But the real differentiator is the duration. It's severe, but it's fleeting. And that brings us to the critical distinction. This is kind of the aha moment for anyone who lives in a cold climate. Snow squalls, they do not typically produce large accumulation totals.
Okay, so you're not getting buried in feet of snow.
No, not at all. If you were just looking at the forecast for total inches, you might just shrug it off. But the severity, the actual danger, it lies entirely in the speed at which the conditions just fall apart.
So it all happens at once.
Exactly. You might only get an inch or two of snow total, but it all falls in this hyper-concentrated 10 or 20-minute window that brings visibility straight to zero. Instantly.
That's a really powerful point. The fact that the accumulation is low could actually be deceptive. It might make drivers complacent.
For sure. They look out the window, see a dusting, and think the warning is overblown.
Right, ignoring that short-term risk. So if the snow total doesn't matter, what is the NWS really warning us about? What's the practical danger here?
They're warning you that you have almost no reaction time. The warning is issued precisely because conditions are perfect for rapidly changing intense snowfall with blowing snow that is guaranteed to drop visibility to near zero in a matter of minutes.
Not low visibility. Zero visibility.
We're talking about a sudden, instantaneous whiteout while you're moving at highway speeds.
That sounds less like a weather event and more like an ambush. If you're on a highway, say I-81 or I-90 across New York and this line hits, what are the immediate tangible consequences?
Precisely. This is where it goes from weather theory to a kinetic emergency. The immediate danger is created by that exact combination of intense snow and those 35-mile-per-hour wind gusts.
Okay.
And that results in whiteout conditions where roads become hazardous almost instantly. The sources list the consequences as slick roadways, whiteout conditions, and impulsive hazards for motorists.
Impulsive hazards. That's an interesting term.
It's key. It speaks directly to the suddenness of it all, the shock factor.
Impulsive hazard probably needs a bit more definition for people.
Yeah.
I mean, we hear about black ice, but what does an impulsive hazard actually look like when you're in your car?
Well, think about it like this. A normal winter hazard, it usually gives you a moment to register what's happening. You see the snow starting, maybe you feel the car slide a tiny bit.
You have a second to react.
You do. An impulsive hazard takes that time away completely. You can go from clear, visible pavement to being visually blinded in the space of just, 3 or 4 car lengths. In practice, what this often looks like is a major chain reaction crash. A driver hits that sudden wall of white, panics, slams on the brakes.
And the person behind them has no idea it's coming.
None. They were in clear air a second ago. They have absolutely no time to react before they enter the squall themselves and just collide. It's the shock, the complete lack of spatial awareness that causes these immediate pileups.
That element of speed and surprise is what makes it so terrifying. The sources really emphasize that conditions can deteriorate quickly and unexpectedly. You could be driving in clear weather one minute, and the next you're hit with this sudden intense snow and these strong crosswinds, which are already dangerous on their own.
And that's why the immediacy demands such prompt attention. The issue isn't the snow load, it's that you can't outrun it. And often, you can't react quickly enough to even find a safe place to pull over once visibility is gone.
So emergency services are playing catch-up.
They are. They have to treat it like a localized natural disaster that happens in an instant and is often over before they can even fully mobilize.
Okay, before we get to the driving advice, we should probably understand the environment this squall was born into. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it helps explain why New York was so keyed up about this warning.
Right, it wasn't happening in a vacuum.
No, it hit while the region was already dealing with this broader, just exhausting winter weather.
Exactly. The whole region was already bracing for multiple rounds of severe winter conditions. The sources show recent forecasts had already been talking about significant lake effect snow and major storm systems that had been hammering upstate New York for days.
And the distinction between a snow squall and lake effect snow is pretty important here. Can you quickly clarify that difference?
Absolutely. Lake effect snow is generally a continuous, slow-building process. Air moves over the warmer Great Lakes, picks up moisture, and then just dumps it downwind.
And it can last for days.
Hours, even days. It can be incredibly heavy, with accumulations in the feet. And Syracuse, which was in this warning, is basically ground zero for that. They had already seen heavy snow from those earlier events. Some spots got double-digit totals in just a few hours. The snow squall, though, is fundamentally different. It's often tied to a fast-moving cold front that's slicing across the area. It's a very compressed, linear event.
So it's a completely different mechanism.
Totally. So
Yeah.
you've got this region that is already saturated with snow, maybe dealing with ice, tired drivers, and then you layer this high-intensity, zero-notice squall on top. It just compounds the danger because the slickness is already there waiting.
That context makes the advice from meteorologists and emergency services even more critical. They weren't just advising caution, they were advising how to survive a very specific threat. What was the synthesized advice?
The advice was clear, and it was focused entirely on minimizing your exposure to that impulsive hazard. First step.
Yeah.
Monitor local weather updates closely,
Knowledge is power.
especially when something moves this fast, yeah.
And for anyone thinking about, running a quick errand or heading out, what was the main directive?
Secondly, and this is the most important one for safety, they recommended avoiding all non-essential travel while that warning was in effect.
Stay put.
If the NWS issues a snow squall warning, it means the window of danger is right now. If you don't have to be on the road for the next hour, just don't be. The risk is not worth it.
And for people who are already on the road, mid-journey, may be caught totally by surprise. Because that's when those chain reaction crashes happen.
Right. Drivers were strongly urged to understand that visibility could fall below safe levels instantly. The imperative was to reduce speed, drastically turn on your headlights, and if you can, consider delaying your travel until it passes.
Pull over if you can.
Pull over before the visibility disappears. The rule of thumb is slow down, put on your four-way flashers if you're slowing way down, and try to safely exit or pull over before you're blind. The big message was just prepare for rapid changes, stay alert, and know that pulling over is always better than trying to drive through a whiteout at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And finally, residents were asked to report any severe conditions, which is vital for emergency response.
That really drives home the difference between a warning and an advisory. This is an immediate safety instruction. The key takeaway here is, I think, simple but life-saving.
Oh.
Snow squall warnings are short, yes, but their immediacy and intensity demand your full attention. You just cannot hesitate when one is coming.
You know, this brings up an important question that builds on that need for an instant response. Given that visibility can drop to 0 in minutes, and our traditional radio or TV warnings might not be timely enough for someone moving at high speed, this hazard requires a reaction time in seconds, not minutes. So it raises the question, what technologies or infrastructure changes could help? I'm thinking of maybe embedded sensors in the roads or instant proximity-based alerts sent right to your car's dashboard, something that could offer drivers an earlier, more reliable warning specific to this impulsive hazard.
Something faster than a broadcast.
Exactly. We need to figure out how to give that driver the extra 30 seconds they need to pull over safely. I think that's the next great challenge in winter weather safety.
That's a fascinating and essential deep dive for the future. Thank you for walking us through these sources and helping us understand not just what a snow squall is, but the precise mechanics of why it's so dangerous.
My pleasure. Stay safe out there.
And thank you, the listener, for providing the sources and engaging in this deep dive with us. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious about the world around you.